So with the conscious consumption, we got the forms of diet, what you put in your body basically, perception, what you're actually putting your attention and focus on, and environmental, what's actually around you, including what you actually can see. So with these, we're going to start with the diet. Now, you got objectional forms here, which is brought in to put in your body so that you can actually have energy for it. It's an exchange. And then you just let go what you just don't need, because that's how nature works, yo. So we now got to consider, okay, we eat food. I get it. Now what? Well, I'll tell you what. The origin of that food is also important on top of what that food actually is. Now, to go on the next scale, let's say food comes from nature, and nature has this energetic life to actually sustain itself. Now, that could be the exchange of both water and sunlight and all that happening to bring forth fruits of its actual existence. Now, it's like the potential being fulfilled of something that it can do. It's flowering. It's not like it's actually that part is its own isolated being. Plants have a whole interconnectedness, and that's more for a consciousness talk. But you got plants that come from nature, and that's giving you your fruits, your vegetables, anything that grows. Now, yes, this is great source of food. This is ideally you're eating from the earth, the same stuff that technically you are made of, and you're being able to co-harmonize because these are all meant to exist. It's like the animals or the species of any plant or tree that died off is because it wasn't able to adapt or something happened to it for it not to be able to last so long. So this current of what we are able to produce and eat should be able to sustain and be in co-harmonic balance. Now, with balance, you got things that are objectively taken away what is actually needed for the person, because most of the stuff that is mass produced out there is made for a product. With that, now, I'd like to, before I get into the whole quality, I still want to touch on animals, because even though I'm vegan, I did eat animals at one point in time. So I have that experience, I have that adaptation, I have that reasoning why and the motivation on why I'm doing it. Now the thing is, I don't have any judgment on what other persons eat. Now, there's two levels of why I choose not to eat what I eat. One is because I don't want to support an industry that does practices I do not approve of. And the other is because of understanding the metaphysical portion of what you put in your body. Now, I say this because anything you put in your body, you are going to store the biology of it. And when you put a living thing such as an animal into your body, you're also taking in whatever mentality and emotions were stored in its DNA during its life up to when it stopped. It's just stored. So you're consuming DNA. Now, I mean, that industry is also pushed for a very huge reason. Now, there's nothing against that, but there's a lot of stuff that goes in just some of the practices to mass produce these animals is just horrific. Like, I would not want to be one of these animals just for the way they're treated. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's out there. It's painful to watch at times, and it's not something that can be unseen. Yes, you can probably like fade it away and still continue to do what you do, but that's like one of the biggest motivations of like, do you want to support that so they can keep doing that? It's a personal choice, so roll with it. And as you put in the DNA, be it from an animal or fruit, that goes inside you. Now, that leads me back into the quality of food. Now, pesticide industry. Fuck those guys. They are trying to like ward off bugs and stuff like this. But what they're doing is being a weapons chemical manufacturer, or however like they've led up to that point. They've used that technology to kill living things so they can have a better field or field the... They try to feed the world and use all these other sounding good narratives to better off their industry and they get approved by the same industries that they go back and forth. For example, like lobbyists or people who work at like some GMO company, and then they become a part of the ruling legislator that decides on what they approve and what they don't approve. Like, that's mixed. I mean, there's a lot of corruption up in there, and there's a lot of motivations that's behind the surface of what you're actually being told or aware or sold. And you know, there are pretty good salesmen out there, so you got to be careful, especially if they don't tell you. So with that, you got this pesticide industry who are putting these chemicals into anything that they're grown. Now, it's even funny because they genetically modified stuff to actually survive these pesticides. So they're able to spray more pesticides. So that residue is still going into whatever is being attached. See what I'm getting at? Like, you put that chemical inside you, and that's the reason why whatever these chemicals are and how they react to your body can lead to aspects that you might not like long term, because it's just small substances in itty bitty DNA bits, and any modified DNA is also going to be like adapted to your DNA. Like, it goes deep. You got to be conscious and aware. So these synthetic forms are just no bueno, and you got to see, hey, I don't want that, but that has to be a conscious choice. Now, this also includes the whole big pharma, because they try to sell you all sorts of stuff just to make you feel better, when psychology is really based off the mentality of holistic understanding of what you're going through. And sometimes if you're having issues on the outside, it's because you're not recognizing something within, because it's a whole as above so below. Your mentality is really up to you what you want to make of it. But there's just so many mental traps, and just like people not following their path or not eating and giving their body anything it needs to live out its highest potential. It's just, they don't see that. They don't make that link either, because this is more of a, you got to understand it on a level that only the conscious awareness can. You can't be told it. You can try to believe it off someone else, but this is something that you have to like, I find that they all have to come to their own conclusion by recognizing what's actually within, and then determining based on their own perspective on what they find is sound and resonating. Fair? Yeah, I think so too. So, with that, I'm wrapping up basically how this profit-focused industry is not giving you the best of what you could be eating. Now, even if you apply the whole grass-fed method to the animals, you're still absorbing DNA, but I think if you are going to still consume animals and meat and such like that, that you have respect to have the animal live its life, similar to how natives would just respect the land, respect nature. That old culture, not just from the people who lived on this continent prior of America, in case you're not in the US, because global. Woo. So, before I get on another tangent, I'm going to go and say that being able to be balanced by nature is important, because being balanced in nature means that you're actually respecting the living things around you. You don't just decide to be like, yo, fuck you off, bye. Yeah, nah. You gotta actually love in a form. You're not trying to like destroy or abuse, because abuse is essentially the root of what this is all occurring. And I mean, people just abuse it for various reasons, be it for profit, power, control. If the world, you'd be surprised. So now, if you want to switch from eating like stuff and you want to like have a new diet, you got to go slow, pace yourself. It's all about you. You got to have your biology adapt. So let's say if you're eating processed foods, it's mostly fake and it's overloaded with stuff. So you got to first be aware of if you want to eat something processed, or if you want to eat something more fresh or prepared, or just being aware of the ingredients, because the ingredients are the most important part. So if you're eating processed, there's a lot of stuff added to it. Now you chop that processed stuff out, you still gotta look at the ingredients, because people put like so much extra like sugar and wheat and stuff, and those two things do not mix well with a couple aspects in your body. It stores that fat. It's not the healthy stuff, but it's the most mass produced stuff, and it's the easiest profit. And I gotta say, I'm not gonna just consume senselessly. Yeah, I bet sugar tastes great, I won't lie, but also does a lot of stuff to your body, and studies show that we actually slightly get addicted to sugar. It's like a craving. Like, we like to experience something both on a level of egoic crave and stomach saying, hey, yo, give me some of that sugar. It's nature. It just does that. It tastes good. It's every little living cell in your body, like, can use something in some form or another. So it's interesting to see how that plays out. But that in the food is really like, do you want to eat this? Do you want to eat that? And that applies to everything I said before about like GMOs in industry, pesticides, artificial, synthetic shits, all that good stuff. So you don't really want to be able to just say like, feed me, because you don't know what's out there. Trust me, if it did, it would likely affect your choices. So now, where and how do you get your food? Organic, obviously, is the safest way on a mass scale that can be easily adopted by anyone who just shops at a grocery store. But ultimately, once you get on that stage of conscious eating and you're able to be more aware, you will develop to shop more local. So you'll pick up, like, let's say, neighborhood or nearby farms that grow food of all sorts, be it whatever's in season. Like, you know, what people usually do before industries decide to hijack shiz. So then on that level, if you want to go even more, I say grow your own food. That's the best, because not only are you like saving the most money, I mean, money's a whole other topic, but not only are you able to provide and self-sustain for yourself, but you actually have your own food that you actually cared for and brought into being. You played a part in having that. So that's not just, it's like a nature child. You cared for it and you get to consume it. So that's a nice thing to have, like growing your own food. It's a life goal for me. I gotta get there. But, I mean, if, let's say you don't have a higher supply, or things just break down, or roads just crash down, and, I mean, the amount of stuff being produced changes. I mean, it's hard to really say, but in the long run, no matter what happens on the external world, if you're able to self-sustain and grow your own food, you're going to be prepared for a lot of things, regardless if they happen or not. Because, you know, anything's possible, so we'll see. This is a long video because I'm only on one topic of all the 3 topics. Should I split it up? I'm going to ponder that after this commercial break. Ha! Like I use commercials. I don't put ads on anything. Live art.